What up, bitches, and welcome to the 7th episode of the FBG podcast. Whoa! 7 episodes, 7 weeks. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, especially if you've watched all of them, and if you're new, slay, chara, hello, thank you for joining me. It has been so much fun, as always, doing this pod, and I'm in my uri today. If you're listening on Spotify, I'm in my uri because it's very, very cold, and I will probably be in this for the next few months because Auckland has gotten so cold all of a sudden. Anyways, so a few weeks ago, I posted on my Instagram story saying, what do you want to hear on the pod? And someone answered on it saying how to deal with getting cheated on. So today's episode is going to be about how I am glad that I got cheated on, which is an interesting statement, but one I can say after being able to reflect on it and sit back and look at the bigger picture and all that fun stuff. So let's get into it. I have been in 2 relationships. The first one was when I was 15. I got into a relationship with Julian, who you guys may recall from my TikTok story time. I've mentioned him a few times throughout the pod so far because unfortunately he was a massive part of my life and left me with severe issues. But anyways, I digress. So we got into a relationship when we were 15, and then we didn't break up until when we were 18. So it was 3 years of my life. And unfortunately, those 3 years were the worst out of my 22. It was really toxic. I'll say as much as I can without going too in depth because the purpose of this story is why I'm glad I was cheated on, not what actually happened. But I'll give you some context because that is really important as well. So it was really toxic. It was lying. It was... Oh, how do I even describe it? It was just everything that comes with a toxic relationship, apart from, thankfully and gratefully, no physical abuse. He had severe mental health issues, and I'll try to talk about it as lightly as I possibly can, but yeah, he had really, really, really bad mental health issues. I feared for his safety every night for 3 years. Not sure if I would wake up with a boyfriend the next day. And he would lie to me about everything. He would lie to me about who he was with, what he was doing. It was the most mundane, stupid stuff, like, what'd you have for breakfast? Oh, I had pancakes, when he had eggs. He was a pathological, compulsive liar, delusional. He's quite literally insane. And I was dealing with all of that, and someone who would lie to me about anything and everything, while also fearing for his safety and his life, and would fight every single day. And I felt like I couldn't leave because I felt like I was responsible for his life and for him to stay on this earth, because that's how he, not only because that's how he would make me feel, but I would be the person that he would confide in. I'd be the person that would call the ambulance and lay in the hospital bed with him. So I knew that he was capable of it as well. So yeah, 3 years of being in the most awful, toxic, disgusting, fearful relationship. And yeah, I felt like I could never ever get out of it. As much as I wanted to, I never ever had the strength to leave. And it sucked. It was bloody awful. So, as some of you may know, I'm from Napier, Hawke's Bay, and we got into a relationship when we were 15 in Napier. And then when I was 17, turning 18, I moved up to Auckland to go to uni. One of the only things that worked out for us is a month before I left for uni, his mum wanted to move to Auckland, and it was bloody perfect. It was amazing. We didn't need to deal with any of those issues with long distance and moving. We'll get into the long distance soon. Oh my goodness. So that was great, but unfortunately, when I moved to Halls, he wouldn't let me make any friends. I couldn't go out without him. Couldn't wear what I wanted. It was all that, your typical stereotypical toxic controlling relationship. Went both ways. But anyways, we'd still be fighting every single day while I was trying to be in this new city, doing my law degree, and I just hated it. I hated our relationship so much. I wasn't attracted to him. I hated him, and I wanted to leave him for the longest time. I fell out of love with him years before that, but I felt like I had this responsibility to keep this person alive. And throughout our 3 years of being together, he told me that if I ever cheated on him, he would, 1, do everything in his power to ruin my life, or 2, do everything in his power to ruin my life, and then. So I felt pretty safe throughout the relationship that he would never do anything like that to me, and obviously I'd never do anything like that to him. And okay, let's get into it. It was May 2021. I talked a little bit about this in my law school horror stories. It was May 2021. Relationship still shit. Fighting every day. All that stuff. Usual toxic bullshit. And I was in Hamilton at a debating tournament. And I came back to Halls, and Julian said he needs to come over and tell me something. And we're sitting on my bed in Halls, and he was sitting across from me, and he was saying how depressed he is and all this stuff, and I was holding him, saying everything's going to be okay. And then he said that he was talking to one of his friends about our relationship, and his friend said, you might as well stay with her because you're not going to be able to find someone else. And he took that as a challenge, and he downloaded Tinder. He was on it for a week, and then he told me that he went over to someone's house. It wasn't someone's house, it was another hall up the road that I still have to walk past. Thankfully, I don't give a fuck, but in the months after it happened, I had to walk past that hall every single day knowing what happened there. And he told me that he kissed someone and cheated on me and all that stuff. And I started screaming and crying. I was really upset. Then I got into contact with the girl that this happened with, and she told me a completely different story. He came on to her, they were hooking up for ages. He wasn't going to tell me, but someone in the hall recognized him, all that kind of stuff. And then the most fucked up thing after all of that is I stuck by him for a month, and the Sam flies back. He's joining us today. I stuck by him for a month because throughout that month he was still telling me that he wanted to hurt himself. And I had my law exam, as you guys know if you watch the law school horror stories. 2 weeks before this, I was dealing with all that, getting calls from his friends saying that he's trying to jump off a building. I remember it was 1 a.m. and I got a call from one of his friends that he had taken a bunch of drugs and he was green and screaming for me. And I still had my retainer in as I ran down Queen Street, and I held him in my arms as I called the ambulance. Still having to make sure that this person stays alive, knowing that he cheated on me after all the shit in our relationship. And I was never perfect either, but no, nothing ever calls for being cheated on. But after that 1 month, he moved to Wellington, and I never saw him again. And I'm glad that he cheated on me, because while I was in Halls, trying to start this new life, the nights that I wasn't with him, I'd lay in bed every night asking the universe for strength, for so much strength to be able to leave this man. because I couldn't, and I was so scared. I was so scared he was going to die if I left him. And we were trauma bonded. It was 3 years, and it was one of those relationships where I didn't have any friends, and my whole life was him. And I had no other thoughts, and I was having an eating disorder at the same time, so my whole brain was either food or this man. And I just felt like I had no strength. And I think that if he never cheated on me, I'd be in the same position. It was really hard at first. I was in a lot of disbelief. The girl didn't look anything like me either. One of those ones. But I was like, eventually, and now I am so happy. If you're watching this, you probably aren't, but fucking thank you for doing that, because it was the thing I needed to let go. And even that, still, it wasn't enough, and the universe had to fully root him up out of my life, but still, that was the catalyst that broke it off. We weren't in an actual relationship after that happened, but my brain just couldn't let go, and it was also like me still trying to take care of his life and all that stuff. But yeah, if he didn't cheat on me, I'd be miserable, stuck in a toxic, controlling, awful, dark, miserable relationship that I would feel like I could never, ever escape from. He was like a prison. And I finally got out by when he cheated on me. And I'm just so grateful that he did, because it was my way out, you know. It was my key to get out of that prison. It was the strength that I needed to leave. But that wasn't the only time that I've been cheated on. So, let's fast forward a couple years, and I have not talked about this man that much on social media, but my second relationship. Let's call him Max. I met Max outside of a club, funnily enough, and we went home together. This would have been about 2022. Yeah, 2022. And we started talking, we started hanging out, we started seeing each other, and I can't describe to you guys the love that I had for this man. The best way that I can describe it is that my beautiful best friend Chloe, I've been best friends with her since I was 5, and she has a beautiful, beautiful daughter that she had a few years ago. And when she had her, I felt this kind of love that I have never felt before for her daughter. And that kind of love is the way I describe how much I loved Max. It was out of this world. It was magical. It was everything you could ever want. We'd go over to one of each other's houses, and we wouldn't even put on a movie. We'd put on music, and we'd lay and stare into each other's eyes for 8 hours, just saying how it's like a movie. And I would leave my body and become every particle, every atom in the room, and I wasn't physical. I was just a concept, a vibration of love staring into this man's eyes, and I loved him so much. We were seeing each other for about 6 months, and then he went on a boys' trip to Sydney, and then he decided that he wanted to move over there with all of them. So during that first 6 months of us seeing each other, we weren't actually dating. It was one of those situationship ones where it's like, what are we? I don't want to be in a relationship. And I just kept holding on. Don't do that. But it was January or so, and he moved over to Sydney. And that's when we actually got into a relationship, which is really, really random, getting into a relationship when you go long distance, but I definitely didn't mind, and we, would talk every day and all that kind of stuff. And then in April, I went over to visit him, and after the first couple days of being in Sydney with him, I was going to either drop out of my law degree or transfer unis and move to Sydney. And the love that I had for this man, also, it wasn't all one-sided. He loved me too, okay, I promise. But the love that I had for this man, I was wholeheartedly so not only accepting but wanting to settle down, have kids, have a white picket fence, and for me, live a very average lifestyle, doing 9 to 5 in some random job, him doing 9 to 5, being a housewife, never traveling, never doing anything, and I would have been so content, and I would have been so happy because I loved him so much that just being with him felt like everything I could ever want and everything I could ever ask for, and the connection that we had and the way that he made me feel was enough, and I would have been so happy to work retail for the rest of my life in Sydney and just be with him. But, so 3 days into that trip, we're out for dinner, this really beautiful dinner, and I'm staring at him, falling in love for the 1 millionth time, and I ask him how many kids he wants, and he tells me when he wants to have them, and then he comes over to show me something on his phone, and he sits next to me, and a Tinder notification pops down, and the world kind of stopped. I left my body, but not for the same reason as before. And then I was like, what? And then he deleted the app right in front of me. And then we went home and I didn't speak to him. And when we got back to his place, he put his headphones in and watched a movie. And then we went to sleep, although I'm not sure how much I slept. And the next morning we finally talked about it. And after an hour of going back and forth, he confessed to like sleeping with someone and like really cheating on me and stuff. I was able to forgive him, even though, oh hell nah. And also the thing about our relationship is we never had a fight. We never argued once. Everything about it was perfect. We were so like healthy. Well, actually, probably not, because a whole bunch of other reasons, because this isn't a relationship story time, it's a cheating story time, but I forgave him. And then because that was like 3 days into my 10-day trip, so because I was about to leave and go catch a flight home, but I really like thought about all the circumstances, and I was able to forgive him this once, but I said if it ever happened again, I'm not doing this. And then it was like 2 months later, and it was 1 week before our 6-month anniversary, and 1 week before I was going to go over there to Sydney and visit him for an entire month, when I got a hey girly with photos. And that was also really hard. That was the hardest, because I could see his Instagram following, and I could see like all these beautiful, like gorgeous Sydney girls that he'd be following like all the time, and I'd ask him about it, and he just said, oh, it's people from work, and I don't want to be like crazy or controlling, because I was so chill the whole relationship too. I was like way too chill as well. And I remember breaking out into like a big sweat, like really, I was crying, I was so upset, lost so much money. I had like this whole date planned as well, and I took out like a loan to pay for it. I won't get into all of that. That's a whole other story time. But the recovery after that, like getting cheated on, was so much harder than when Julian cheated on me. Because when Julian cheated on me, it was just like, my focus wasn't on like my worth and who I was. My focus was on the fact that I was able to escape from it. And I was also undergoing 3 years worth of like trauma recovery as well. But I wasn't, like, our relationship, mine and Max's relationship, was perfect. Well, to me, I felt it was perfect. And I was so sad that he would jeopardize it, and he didn't love me the same way that I loved him. And getting over that one was hard. It's been really, really hard to have that same self-confidence and be able to navigate insecurities. But I've realized that it's nothing to do with me, and it's never anything to do with the woman. The thing that I definitely have realized throughout both of these relationships is, so Julian, 3 years long, toxic, controlling. He was toxic and controlling. I was toxic and controlling. We were both awful. Me and Max, so chill, no fighting. Like, could do whatever you want to whenever you wanted, as a relationship should be, by the way. Couldn't care less. Like, go out 5 nights in the row, do all the drugs in the world, go have all the drinks in the world, go to parties with girls. I don't care. It was very, like, it was two complete opposite ends of the spectrum. I got cheated on. And so many girls that I know, like most of my friends, have been cheated on. Like, I think Megan Fox has been cheated on. All these beautiful, gorgeous celebrities, I can't name them off the top of my head right now, but I think Beyonce has been cheated on. So many women have been cheated on, and it's just a shitty thing. And yes, women cheat too, but it's not this, like, horny sex thing than it can be for women who cheat with. It's like an emotional kind of, what's it called? Avenue? Perspective? Angle. But I am glad that Max cheated on me, because the fuck am I living in a goddamn white picket fence, like, 3-bedroom, like, home, and getting like $500 a week, and having him come home from his shitty job at 5 p.m, having a beer, going out with his friends, and cheating on me for the rest of our lives? Because he would cheat on me. I'd be at home with like 3 kids and he'd be cheating on me. And it's just the fact that, like, after I found out, before I was meant to go over and visit him for a month, instead of doing that, I moved into this apartment. And I would not have moved into this apartment if I stayed with him. My life would be completely different. And I have, like, the biggest goals for myself. And I don't talk about it because I don't want to get evil eye, but, like, there is some, like, crazy cool shit that I want to experience in this life, considering last week's episode how I said that I don't want to work a 9 to 5, and I feel like I'm made for bigger and better things, but I wouldn't have achieved that if I didn't find out that he cheated on me. And I'm so glad that that's not the life that I am, I don't want to say settling for, but for lack of a better word, settling for. And some people, like, their lives like that, bloody beautiful, bloody fantastic. And I would, if that happened with me and he never cheated on me, I would have been so happy. But the shit that I have going for me now, like behind closed doors, that would never ever happen. Wish I could talk about more about what I'm trying to say, but I ain't getting no evil eye, no tall puppy syndrome right now. You'll see when it happens. But just, like, I have so many more bigger, better, more amazing, more global, more financial, more invigorating, enlightening experiences that I am intending to and am going to achieve because I got cheated on. And I am so goddamn glad that both those relationships ended with me getting cheated on, because with Jillian, I obviously have a track record of not being able to leave. Same with the second episode, lessons I learned from a man that didn't want me. For some reason, I just can't leave when I get treated like shit. I need to develop a little bit more self-respect in that category. But what I'm doing now is I ain't dating. I ain't dating no 2025. I'm not going on dating apps. I don't want to meet someone until I'm like 28, 29, ready to settle down and have kids, and the bro has got all of his sexual urges out the way and doesn't feel the need to go and see other people. Because with Max, I got it. It's a long distance relationship. You're in Sydney, and like I don't blame him. Like I have no hatred. I have no hatred towards Max or Julian. I they probably have their own truth and their own experiences, just like lessons I learned from Man That Didn't Want Me. Everyone has their own truth and their own experience as well, and I'd never blame anyone for anything, but I will take my own lessons from my experience, if that all makes sense. If you are struggling with getting cheated on, number one, it's not you. It's not how you look. It's not your personality. It's not how you behave. It's not the way you dress. It's not what you study. It's not what you do on a daily basis. There is nothing that you could have done more of or less of. Who you are as a person is so perfect, so valuable, so beautiful. And getting cheated on is the universe explicitly saying to you, this is not your calling. This is not your path, and this is not the man that you're meant to be with. Because like me, and maybe like you can't leave when there is only a couple red flags. It needs to be something explicit for you to realize and to have that strength. And that's nothing to do with you either. Yes, we can work on that stuff, but it's hard. And that really comes from a place of seeing the best in people and being so loving. And a lot of it is a reflection of how you treat yourself as well. But the other day, me and my friend, not the other day, like a couple months ago, but we searched up like celebrities that have gone cheated on. There were so many, and they're all goddamn drop dead gorgeous, and you'd never think for a second, who the hell would want to jeopardize that and give that up? It does take time to get over that kind of stuff, but after a while, you'll realize that you're so glad that you got cheated on. No one deserves it, and a better breakup would probably be, honestly, in my opinion, I think getting cheated on is easier to recover from a breakup. Maybe not getting cheated on, something along that sorts, instead of it being like a really clean, amicable, like loving, supportive. I use so many fucking adjectives when I'm saying shit. And I realized the other day that I say I need to shut the fuck up all the time during my pod episodes, which is so funny because this is a podcast of me talking and me telling myself I need to shut the fuck up. So funny. What was I saying? I'm not sure I remember. Oh yeah, I think, I could be wrong, I could be talking shit. This is just what I think. That recovering from a breakup, from like it being more on the lines of like cheating and like it not being a good relationship, is easier to recover from, because you think, why the hell would I ever want to be with someone like that, or like like allow that kind of disrespect and all that kind of stuff. Because when it's really clean and there's not something that you can really like grip onto, it can be harder to leave. That's what I found with my third situationship man. I've been in like 3 things: Julian, Max, and the lesson I learned from Man That Got Cheated On. And that's why it took me so long to leave, because it was a whole long string of disrespectful events, but it was not enough, such as the 2 getting cheated ons, for me to leave. And that's why it panned out for so long as well. But it sucks. But also, getting into a relationship at such a young age is a slippery slope, and I don't necessarily want to do it, not because I want to go have a bunch of sexual experiences. That's actually not the point of it at all. My whole thing is that when Max moved to Sydney, I wanted to make it work, but I would have been limiting myself to all of life's experiences. And same with the lessons I learned from a man that didn't want me. If I stay with him and pursued it, I would have also been limiting myself. I want to experience all the universe has to offer me, not being held down or constrained. And yes, sometimes love can override all of that, but while I can control it, I want to see and do everything and have the most elevated human experience as I possibly can. And if you're undergoing a breakup, woo, that scared me. It's my 21st crown. Oh, hell yeah. If you're going through a breakup or you're recovering from getting cheated on, that has opened up an infinite amount of experiences and opportunities for you. You're not stuck down to a place, a person, a job, or any of that for the matter, because I won't get into all of that kind of shit, but it's nothing to do with you. And your life's just kind of restarted as well. I hope that was helpful for anyone who's being cheated on, or maybe in the future if that happens. I hope it never happens, because it's fucked and it's shit and it's awful and it's sad, and here I am saying all my adjectives again, trying to get the point across. Only one would be fine, okay? One would be fine. I am so happily single. Like, I love being single so much. I'm 22 in my own apartment. My degree is finishing in November, and once it does, I'm packing all my stuff into my parents' place, packing a suitcase, getting a one-way ticket, and I'm never looking back. And to me, that is so exciting. And I have no desire for any man to come and obstruct that, at least for right now. So thank you, Jillian, and thank you, Max, for cheating on me, because I would not be this happy, this free, and this excited for life. Slay! Oh, cool. I think that's what I have to say about that. Whoop whoop! I feel so good now. I was like getting real emotional talking about Jillian, but now look at me. I'm so happy. Super slay! Alright, bitches. I will see you in episode 8. Whoop whoop! Love ya!